शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। सिन्दूरारुणविग्रहां त्रिनयनां माणिक्यमौलिस्फुरत्तारानायकशेखरां स्मितमुखीमापीनवक्षोरुहां पाणिभ्यां मलिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् पराम् अम्बिकाम्। ॐ ध्यायेन्नित्यं महेशम् रजतगिरिनिभं चारुचन्द्रावतंसं रत्नाकल्पोज्ज्वलाङ्गं परशुमृगवरभीतिहस्तं प्रसन्नं पद्मासीनं समन्तात् स्तुतममरगणैः व्याघ्रकृत्यं वसानं विश्वाद्यं विश्वबीजं निखिलभयहरं पञ्चवक्त्रं त्रिनेत्रम् नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर्गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्।
धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत सञ्जय। श्रीभगवानुवाच क्लैब्यं मा स्मगमः पार्थ नैतत्त्वय्युपपद्यते क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्त्वोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप। अर्जुन उवाच किं तद्ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मं किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते। श्रीभगवानुवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं स्वभावोऽध्यात्ममुच्यते भूतभावोद्भवकरो विसर्गः कर्म संज्ञितः। अर्जुन उवाच अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः। श्रीभगवानुवाच अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः पुरुषस्थादिदैवतम् अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र देहे देहभृतां वर अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन्मुक्त्वा कलेवरं यः प्रयाति समद्भावं याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः। यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावं त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरं तं तमेवैति कौन्तेय यदा तद् सदा तद्भावभावितः। अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन्। प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम्। सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्याधायात्मनः प्राणम् आस्थितो योगधारणाम्। मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयमशाश्वतम् नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः। अग्निर्ज्योतिरः शुक्लः षण्मासा उत्तरायणम् तत्र प्रयाता गच्छन्ति ब्रह्मविदो जनाः। धूमो रात्रिः तथा कृष्णः षण्मासा दक्षिणायनम् तत्र चान्द्रमसं ज्योतिः योगी प्राप्य निवर्तते। शुक्लकृष्णे गतिह्येते जगतः शाश्वते मते एकया यात्यनावृत्तिम् अन्यया वर्तते पुनः। नैते श्रुति पार्थ जानन् योगी मुह्यति कश्चन तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु योगयुक्तो भवार्जुन। वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपःसु चैव दानेषु यत्पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम् अत्येति तत्सर्वमिदं विदित्वा योगी परं स्थानमुपैति चाद्यम्। इदं तु ते गुह्यतमं प्रवक्ष्याम्यनसूयवे ज्ञानं विज्ञानसहितं यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्। राजविद्या राजगुह्यं पवित्रमिदमुत्तमम् प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यं सुसुखं कर्तुमव्ययम्। अश्रद्दधानाः पुरुषा धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि। सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकाम् कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहम्। न च मां तानि कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय उदासीनवदासीनम् असक्तं तेषु कर्मसु। अवजानन्ति मां मूढा मानुषीं तनुमाश्रितम् परं भावमजानन्तो मम भूतमहेश्वरम्। महात्मानस्तु मां पार्थ दैवीं प्रकृतिमाश्रिताः भजन्त्यनन्यमनसो ज्ञात्वा भूतादिमव्ययम्। अहं क्रतुरहं यज्ञः स्वधाहमहमौषधम् मन्त्रोऽहमहमेवाज्यम् अहमग्निरहं हुतम्। पिताहमस्य जगतो माता धाता पितामहः वेद्यं पवित्रमोङ्कारं ऋक्सामयजुरेव च। गतिर्भर्ता प्रभुः साक्षी निवासः शरणं सुहृत् प्रभवः प्रलयः स्थानं निधानं बीजमव्ययम्। अनन्याश्चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम्। येऽप्यन्यदेवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः तेऽपि मामेव कौन्तेय यजन्त्यविधिपूर्वकम् अहं हि सर्वयज्ञानां भोक्ता च प्रभुरेव च न तु मामभिजानन्ति तत्त्वेनातस्त्यवन्ति ते समोऽहं सर्वभूतेषु न मे द्वेषोऽस्ति न प्रियः ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या मयि ते तेषु चाप्यहम् अपि चेत् सुदुराचारो भजते मामनन्यभाक् साधुरेव समन्तव्यः सम्यक् व्यवसितो हि सः क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शश्वच्छान्तिं निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मद्याजी मां नमस्कुरु मामे वैष्यसि युक्त्वैवम् आत्मानं मत्परायणः.
Shall we proceed and start, since we have not read the Bhagavad Gita since last time? Shall we go on to Dwadash Adhyaya? Huh? So, that's another thing which people may or may not like in our satsang, which I emphasize, I like to emphasize a lot, is that the highest truth is in the Prasthanatrayi of the Advaita. So, we can talk about Advaita Vedanta as some holy grail concept, but Advaita Vedanta is built on, he talked about the 3 pillars, remember, in the video. Yukti, Anubhava, and I think he called one of them, I don't know if he called them Shruti. Did he call one of them Shruti?
Yeah, Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava.
Yeah. I think Shruti is a bit of a loose terminology to use because it's not quite accurate. Advaita Vedanta is formally founded on 3 works. They are called the Prasthanatrayi. Prasthana means departure. We know that even in Hindi, Gadi is platform se prasthana hogi or ravana hogi, right? So we know that. So what are these points of departure? Trayi is 3. First one is Bhagavad Gita. Now, Bhagavad Gita is not considered Shruti. Actually, it is considered part of the Smriti, that which is remembered, because it is not a work that's a revelation to the rishis. It is a work that came later, in some sense, through the mind of man, you may say. Although it is the Lord's words, Sri Krishna, it is considered Smriti, remembered. The other is the Upanishads themselves. The Upanishads are properly classified as Shruti because they were revealed to the rishis. Right? The reason this distinction is important is Bhagavan Sri Shankaracharya has clearly pointed out that whenever there is a point of conflict or disagreement between the Shruti and the Smriti, the Shruti should prevail. That is, the revelation of the rishis is paramount. It is then explained in different ways through the remembered works. If there is any apparent conflict, one must take the word of the revelation to be of a higher order or more as the right one. Right? Okay, that is merely technical. You mostly will not encounter these kind of things, and as long as you have somebody to explain things to you, it does not really crop up. The third one is something called the Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutra is actually it is also a Smriti because it's a sutra. It's not it's a Smriti. It's not a Shruti. It's an exposition, or it's called Vedanta Sutra, and it explains all of Advaita Vedanta basics. It's a fairly technical work on philosophy. So these 3 are the departure points. So what I feel is very important for us is, I can sit and talk about Advaita in different ways and in common terminology. But for you, what is very, very important and powerful is to have the ideas from the source text. When you get an understanding a comfort level with recitation, chanting, reading, understanding the source text, your strength and your understanding will deepen in a way that I cannot ever hope to replace with as many hours of my talking. Hmm? This is somewhat of a departure from modern guides. Many modern guides don't like to go to the source text because, one, if you read the source text in Sanskrit, your attendance will drop by about 95%. Right? And that's just the way it is, but that's okay. It is important that the other 5% also be guided. They're the important ones, in my opinion. Right? So we emphasize this. This is very important. So this is Advaita itself. There is nothing more deep than the Advaita of the Bhagavad Gita. Right? Particularly when viewed through the lens of the Bhagavan Sri Shankaracharya's commentary. That's the point I'd like to make. Okay. So we will now recommence reading the source text. Okay. Okay. Dvadasho Adhyaya, Yoga of Devotion. In the chapters from the 2nd to the 10th, which deals with the divine powers, has been set forth the worship of Brahman, the Supreme Self, the imperishable, devoid of adjuncts. So already, first sentence, introduction itself is Advaita only. So we have been told the divine powers. In certain contexts, worship addressed to you, God, with the adjuncts of yogic powers and marked by the sattvic power of omniscience has also been discussed. In chapter 11, entitled The Cosmic Form, has been revealed for the purpose of this very worship, your cosmic form, primordial and lordly, the very self of the entire world. After revealing it, you, the Lord, said, whoso performs my works, etc. 255. Therefore, desiring to know which of these two approaches is superior, I, Arjuna, ask of you. Iti Arjuna. So, Arjuna is constantly quizzing Bhagavan Sri Krishna. He is very intent on knowing for him which is the right way to remove the blindfold, right? So he's a very enthusiastic and persistent sadhak, aspirant, which is a lovely quality. Because remember in Yoga Sutra it says utsahat, by enthusiasm, right? Utsahat, sahasat, dhairyat, tattvajnanat, nischayat, janasanga parityagat. These are the 6 qualities that an aspirant should have. And the first one of them is enthusiasm. There must be enthusiasm for the subject matter, for the goal, right? On the other hand, let us also not forget the obstacles. The obstacles are vyadhi, sthana, samshaya, pramada, alasya, avirati, bhranti darshana, anavasthitatvani, alabdha bhumikatva. Okay, so let's 9 of them. Let's start with the first one, vyadhi, disease. Disease is an obstacle. If you are ill, you cannot focus on the goal and you cannot undertake the path. Therefore, whenever one is in good health, one should exert full enthusiasm. This is very important. You know, if you're suffering greatly, either a physical illness or a mental illness, and you have to take various kinds of medicines which may affect your physiology, they may affect your mood, right? Then how easy is it going to be then to concentrate? Very difficult, right? If we look ahead to the older people whom we see in the world, and they may be having more bodily aches and pains, right? Better now to use any little spare time when the body is in good shape and the mind is stable. So, vyadhi. Sthana. Sthana is a spiritual apathy. Sometimes we are in the mood for it and sometimes we are not in the mood for it, right? The mood comes very rarely, actually. Right? Spiritual mood. Well, am I in the mood for spiritual things or not? This, it just has to be cultivated. The more and more you do something and the more you enjoy it, and hopefully satsang provides such an environment where you are welcomed, you feel safe, you feel loved, you feel happy, and you enjoy it, then you will come more and more. That's why it's beautiful. Chetas is here. at a young age, if he starts to experience, that will really make a nice feeling in the heart, habit in the heart. Styan. Samshaya, doubt. Is this the right path? Is this path A, is it right? 2, is it right for me? Right? These will also another obstacle. So similarly, there are 9 such obstacles. Obviously, like Arjuna, we should be enthusiastic and apply ourselves with as much energy as we can, as long as we are hale and hearty and able to do that. Right? So Arjuna Uvacha, please, who's going to read number 1, 12:1, please?
अर्जुन उवाच एवं सततयुक्ता ये भक्तास्त्वां पर्युपासते ये चाप्यक्षरमव्यक्तं तेषां के योगवित्तमाः.
Very nice. So Arjuna says, Evam Satata Yukta. So eternally yoked, ever integrated. Ye bhaktaha, these devotees of you. Tvam, your devotees. Paryupasate, who upasana is worship. Paryupasate, elaborate worship. Who worship you elaborately. Ye chapi aksharam avyaktam, and the ones who worship the aksharam, the avyaktam, unmanifest, the imperishable, pranava, right? Tesham ke yogavitta, who of the two is more yogavit? Which is better? Who is better? So, I mean, take simple example, right? Of the ones who do bhaktaha, the ones who go to temple and worship the Lord in the form of, say, in this case, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, any form, because Lord says already, he has said, right? Whoever worships me in any form, they all come to me only. Take any form of the Lord. Ones who do puja, the ones who do upasana, or at home you keep murti and you do puja, right? Sometimes it may come to the thinking that, this is so kind of primitive and, I am very intellectual, I don't like to worship like this kind of, this is all very superstitious. And what is this? Are we like, so you think God is really sitting in that image? I mean, come on, right? Haven't we thought like this? Some people think like that. Nevertheless, it's good to know. It's a stage. It's a phase. It's okay. Other one, I don't want to have all this. Maybe I want to go straight for the imperishable. Oh, right. Abstract. No images. Nothing. Okay. So he's asking, which of these is better? Who among them know yoga best? A fantastic question, right? Gita is full of fantastic questions like this. Okay. Evam iti. Thus refers to the ideas set forth in the immediately preceding verse 1155. Thus ever integrated are those who intermittently apply themselves. Nairantaryena, this comes also in Yoga Sutra. Apply themselves to God's works for God's sake. Bhagavat karmadau yatokte arthe samahitaha santaha pravrittaha ityartha. There are, on the one hand, those devotees whose sole refuge is yourself and who meditate on you in your cosmic form. And there are, on the other hand, those who have renounced all cravings and all works and who worship the imperishable Brahman described earlier, Brahman who is unmanifest, being adjunctless. Akarana gocharam, avyaktam, akarana gocharam, beyond the range of the senses. So those are the gocharas, right? Akarana and agocharam. That word is sandhid. Akarana gocharam, akarana plus agocharam, beyond the range of the senses. What falls within the range of the senses is said to be manifest. Yathi loke karana gocharam tat vyaktam uchyate. The root anjehe dhatoho tat karma katvat refers to the act of manifestation. Okay. Brahma aksharam, right? Avyaktam. Yathi anjihi dhatoho tat karma katvat idam tu aksharam tad viparitam. This imperishable is other than the manifest, etc., is distinguished by the adjectives set forth in this context. Of these two groups of devotees, who is it that understands yoga better? This is the import. ये तु अक्षरोपासकाः सम्यक् दर्शिनः निवृत्तैषणाः ते तावत् तिष्ठन्तु तान् प्रति यत् वक्तव्यं तत् उपरिष्टात् वक्ष्यामः. Let us leave alone for the moment the worshippers of imperishable, whose perceptions are valid and who are free from all cravings. What may be said about them will be stated later. As regards the others, Sri Bhagavan Vacha. So first, the Lord is going to talk about the ones who do the devotees, who do the elaborate upasanas, etc., or who have devoted themselves to the Lord in his cosmic form. And then he will talk later, verses 12, 13 to 20, about the ones who are the worshippers of the imperishable, whose perceptions are valid also, and who are free from all cravings. So, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, number 2, please.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya mano ye mam nityayukta upasate Shraddhaya parayopetaah te me yuktatama mataah.
Very good. Mayi aveshya manaha, setting their minds on me. Ye, those ones. So Mam is on me. Nitya Yukta, ever integrated. Those who worship me. Shraddhaya, Parayopetaha. Shraddhaya is absolute faith. Te me Yuktatama Mata. I deem them to be the best integrated. The best integrated are those devotees who, concentrating their minds on me, worship me, the Supreme Lord, with the cosmic form, the Supreme Master of all those who have mastered yoga, the omniscient, lifted above all perceptions due to afflictions like attachment and so forth. This is my view, for they are always integrated in the sense of the last verse in 11. Their faith is absolute, preeminent. They spend their days and nights fixing their mind on me without a break. So it is proper to describe them as the best integrated. Kim itare yuktatamaha na bhavanti? Na. Kintu tan prati yat vaktavyam tat shruno. Are not the others best integrated as well? Not that they are not, but listen to what may be remarked in regard to them. Okay, verse number 3, please.
Ye tvaraksham nirdeshyam avyaktam puryapasate sarvatra gam chintanyam chakuttastham chalam dhruvam.
Ye tu aksharam anirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate. And those who worship the imperishable, aksharam, anirdeshyam, the one that cannot be indicated, that one that cannot be pointed to, avyaktam, the unmanifest, paryupasate, those who worship, sarvatragam achintyam, the omnipresent, the imponderable, the one that cannot be thought about, cha kutastham, the unchanging, immutable, achalam, non-moving, immobile, dhruvam, unwavering. These are the characteristics of Brahman, right? Without attributes. Those who worship the imperishable, the ineffable, being unmanifest, it is beyond the range of words, not capable of being described. It is unmanifest. It's not revealed by any means of cognition. Those who elaborately worship means worship in all possible ways. Worship means a prolonged state characterized by the flow of an identical idea, like a flow of oil, after the mind takes up a theme as its object of meditation, in conformity with the Shastraic prescriptions. We have this continuous idea, dhara. So if you go to do Ayurvedic treatment, there is something called Shirodhara. They will pour, in Kerala they do this very well, they will pour the oil directly on your head like continuous stream. Most fantastic experience. Okay, so when the mind is constantly in that stream, the thought is only of the akshara. This is a idea here. Or when we do abhishekam for the deities, abhishekam, there will be a continuous stream falling on the head. Again, the idea is to bring that into our mental stream. So another adjective of the imperishable is offered, the omnipresent, which is spread like space everywhere, right? Sarvatragam, imponderable, achintyam, which is what is within the range of the senses, is an object of thought. Its opposite is that which is not the object of thought. The immutable, kutastha, that which is attractive outside and defective inside is kuta, as borne out by expressions like having a false form. Similarly, what is variously named Maya, Avyakta, has within it numerous seeds of empirical life like nescience and so forth, is also kuta. See the scriptural texts, Shvetashvara Upanishad and Gita bear out the sense. So, Mayam tu prakritim vidyat, Mayinam tu Maheshwaram. So, Mayam tu prakriti, know Maya to be Prakriti, composed of the three gunas, Vidyat. Mayinam tu Maheshwaram, and the great Lord is the one who is beyond that. Mama Maya Duratyaya, Bhagavan himself says this, my Maya is hard to cross. 7:14. Ityado prasiddham yat tat kutam, tasmin kute sthitam, the one who is situated even inside that Maya, that is kutastha. So kuta itself means all these things, the one that has a false form, kuta rupakam, kuta sakshyam ityado, kuta shabdah prasiddha loke, the one that has a false form or a false evidence. This is the nature of the Maya. These illustrate the well-known sense of the term kuta. What is variously named Maya and Avyakta? Avidya, samsara bijam, it is called the seed of the world. Antar doshavat, Maya avyakrita adi aneka shabdavachyataya. Right. So the one who is situated even inside that. What is present in kuta as its presiding power is the immutable, or it is what stands as a mass, kuta. Hence, it is the immobile. Being immobile, it is the unwavering, eternal. Actually, the second sense of kuta being a mass. So sometimes kutastha is referred to like an anvil. You know what an anvil is? The one on which you hit with the hammer. Anvil is very hard to move, right? So sometimes kutastha is indicated in that sense, that which does not move. So then let us read 4 and then maybe 4 and 5 and then we will stop. Who is reading 4, please?
Sanyam yendriyagramam sarvatra sambuddhyah te prapnuvanti mamev sarvabhuta hite rata.
Sanniyamya indriya gramam, having controlled their sense organs fully. Indriya gramam. Sarvatra samabuddhaya, everywhere seeing the same, identical, non-different. Te prapnuvanti mameva, they attain me alone, they come to me only. Sarva bhuta hite rataha, living as they are, devoted to the welfare of all beings, like rishis and so forth. Right? So what Bhagavan is saying is, whether a person worships the Lord in the form or whether the person worships elaborately the formless, the imperishable, they come to him only. Okay. So then let us understand the next verse is very important. So controlling fully, withdrawing all sense organs and at all times with the cognition of sameness. This is the Raja Yoga path. And then Jnana Yoga. In pleasures and pains alike, the sages attain me indeed. So Indriya Gramam Sarvatra Bhaudayati Tulya Buddhi Sham Prapnuvanti. No remark about them is called for. They are devoted to the welfare of all beings. He says the sages, these are the rishis. I mentioned that. It has already been stated that the knower is verily myself. Remarks about their level of integration are inappropriate, for they are entirely one with the Lord. Nahi Bhagavat Swarupanam Satam Yuktatamatvam Ayuktatamatvam Va Vachyam. One cannot ask whether they are one with the Lord or not one with the Lord. Jnani tu Atmaiva me matam. Know the Jnani to be my very self, he has said. Mam te prapnuvanti. They attain me alone. Okay. So then what is the difference? 5. 5 is the answer to the original question. So let us listen to 5. What does 5 say?
क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहे देहवद्भिरवाप्यते.
क्लेशः अधिकतरः तेषां, their obstacles, toil is harder. क्लेशः अधिकतः, क्लेशः इति, their toil is harder, तेषां, of them. Avyakta asakta chetasam, because the mind is hard to set on the unmanifest. Avyaktahi gatir dukkham, the process of going along the path to attain the unmanifest is a very difficult path, sorrowful path, right? Sorrowful because of the difficulty. Dukkham here should be indicated more as hard than sorrow. Dehavad bhihi avapyate. It is difficult for embodied beings to tread on the path of the unmanifest. Right? So, kleshaha iti, kleshaha adhikataraha yadyapi mat karmadhiparanam adhikaha eva kleshaha. Adhikatarastu aksharatmanam paramatmadarshinam dehabhimana parityaga nimittaha. So you see, their toil is harder. Though the toil of those who do my work and so forth is great, greater is the toil of those whose self is the imperishable. Those who behold only the self, for they have had to renounce conceit in the body. Their mind is attached to the unmanifest, so their toil is harder. The goal, gati, whose essence is the imperishable, being unmanifest, is attained painfully by the embodied who have conceit in the body. Dehavadbihi, deha abhimanavadbihi avapyate, ataha klesha adhikatara. Aksharopasakanam yat vartanam tat uparishtat shlokeshu. The life and works of the worshippers of the imperishable will be set forth later. We will talk about it in verse 13 to 20. So,
Dr. Shankar, this number 5 is saying that the Gyan Yoga, right? The Gyan Yoga is harder, right? Gyan Yoga or Raj Yoga. The unmanifest, right? Focusing on unmanifest.
yeah, let me come to this point. So, the very often in the misunderstanding of Hinduism, people think, why do these people worship all these images? And on the surface, something like Christianity sounds so great, particularly the where they say no graven images, you should not worship any images, only the one. Okay. Because this comes from deep experience. It's not easy. Yeah, the Lord has clearly said in the Gita, there is no difference between the two in their attainment. Right? Yeah. So this is where there is so much misunderstanding about Hinduism. People think, oh, it is about idol worship, worst words, idol worship, this kind of baloney, right? In one clear thing, Bhagavan has said, you can worship unmanifest or manifest, right? Both will come to me. Definitely the ones who are worshipping the unmanifest are already my very self, right? But having taken human birth, it is a little easier, right, to take the path of direct worship of the form, Saguna Brahman. Brahman as the Lord. That is not to say that people will not worship Nirguna Brahman or that path is closed off to anybody with the body. It is just a little harder, right? So the way I would put it is, that's why I say, in the end, the person who has good, perfect jnana is going to be a bhakta. The one with perfect jnana will never deny bhakti. The one with perfect jnana will never deny the existence of the Lord. The one with perfect jnana always comes and says the Lord, because in the dual state, the words of wisdom, we can say, are only words of worship to the Lord. In the dual state, the jnani cannot come and say, I am the self. They will not say that. It is only reserved in certain parts of the Upanishads for some rishis to say that, right? But because intuitively, just as human being comes here and says, I am this person, this is my body, right? This is natural, right? Will I say anything else? A human being will say, this is my body, I am this person. Similarly, a Jnani will come and say, this is all the Lord's play. The Jnani will talk only about bhakti, right? So right from the start, I said, if you cultivate the attitude of bhakti, then whatever you do, Raj Yoga will become very easy, Jnana Yoga will become very easy. It will all become very simple. In the end, it is almost indistinguishable, right? What Bhagavan here is pointing out is both will eventually lead to the same place. That's what he's saying. He's in his wisdom, he's saying follow the path of worshipping the one with form. It's easier, right? Because the mind is very difficult to bring to rest on the formless. Although there are those who do, the pain to the body is greater. And he's right about that. The pain to the body is greater. This is, his wisdom is perfect, is accurate. And so, but later as we will see, that true bhakti must also bring jnana. Right? It cannot be that bhakti cannot bring the jnana. So that is why nobody will say, don't read the Jnana Marg. You cultivate awareness of the Jnana Marg also, because that is important, right? You know, if one only follows a defective form of bhakti, then that comes to the kind of thinking which is only the people who follow this form of the Lord will be saved. Everyone else who doesn't follow my form of the Lord will perish. Have you not seen this? Have you not seen this? These people also have a kind of bhakti, but it's a defective bhakti, right? My Lord only in that my form, in that with that my name only is the real Lord. Every other form is bogus, right? You can't have that, right? Because Bhagavan himself has said in the previous verse, those who worship me by other names also do only avidhivat, only not in the prescribed form, right? So this wisdom is the pinnacle of Hinduism. It is the greatest gift from the rishis to us. And so that is why the Gita is so powerful, because better than anybody, anything they can say, it has the truth. Hence eternal truth. So hope you all enjoyed. And any questions, comments before we close?
I have one small question.
Sure.
In the first two verses of the chapter, when
Right.
Bhagavan says that those who worship my form,
Uh-huh.
are they talking about the specific form of Sri Krishna or any form?
He is talking of Saguna Brahman, right? The worship of so when he says avidhivat in the other case, one can take it to mean different things. I think in our context, it's better to take it as because worship of any of the three murti, worship of Shiva or Vishnu is vidhivat only. They are both vidhi, within the vidhi. So the Saguna form of Brahman is what is indicated here, right? Now, there is a particular reason why Brahma is not worshipped, which is a long discussion in another thing. But either the worship of Shiva or Vishnu are both considered the best forms of Saguna Brahman worship. And if you listen to that on Shivratri, the Katha from the glory of Shivratri, I don't know if you listened. I sent the one link to an audio file. Did you all not get it? On Mahashivratri night, I sent the link. So in that, there is a verse in which he says, in which the doe says, let those curses come on me of one who, claiming to be a worshipper of Shiva, insults the form of Vishnu. So in the deepest Puranic lore, the two are equivalent. There is no difference. So Saguna Brahman, any form of Brahman with attributes. We'll come back to why if you remind me why the Brahma form is not worshipped, I'll tell you next time.
So a quick follow-up on that, Dr. Sankat. So you mentioned like any form of Shiva or Vishnu, right? So the Krishna, Ram, right? When we say avatar, they are the form of Vishnu, right?
Yes.
And when we say about Ishtadev,
Mhm.
that would also fall under the Saguna Brahman, right? When
Absolutely. Yes.
Devi or some Ishta
Yes.
follow, and then you meditate on them, so that they will be the Saguna Brahman.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question, Shalabh. A pertinent question. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Very good. So let's say Shanti Mantram. Lovely to see you all. Have a lovely evening and see you next weekend. Right? So, Om Tachamyora Vrinimahe Gatum Yajnaya Gatum Yajnapataye Daivihi Swastirastu Naham Swastirmanushabhyah Urdhvam Jigatu Bheshajam Shanno Astu Dvipadehe Sham Chatushpade Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste everyone. Bye bye. Namaste.